How's it, my little photonauts? Well, I have a bit of a confession to make. I think that I have maybe sold you a bit of a misunderstanding, some poor advice. Just the other day, I was walking downstairs and I was making a coffee in the morning, and I was looking out the back door. There's a big walnut tree on the other side of the garden. And there were squirrels running up it and taking off, there's all the walnuts to go and store somewhere else. I would love to actually taste those walnuts one day, but the squirrels get to them first. But their need is greater than mine. And I was thinking about how it was so nice. It was just a lovely little scene. We had a bit of an Indian summer, so it was a nice blue sky and all this kind of stuff. And the weather has changed now. It's like I can hear the wind outside, and autumn, fall, whatever you want to call it, is just around the corner. And the scenery that I've been confronted with recently is all it's nice. It's just so. It's the very thing that my kind of 20-year-old photography art school gothy wannabe, oh my God, sort of thing would have just found appalling, right? Because it wasn't art. Okay, this is just tweeners. And I got to thinking through a prompt from one of the people in my new cohort about an idea that I may have missold you. So they'd sent me an email talking about, sort of the introduction to things. I wanted to find out what motivates them in their photography. And they said that they didn't consider them necessarily to be artistic, for want of a better word. That arty with a capital A. Now, for most of my working life, that I wanted to create deep, meaningful work that was somehow going to change the world, it was going to move people to their very cause, something like that. I think a lot of that stems from, this kind of the arrogance of youth. I was like, I'm so special. Look at me, I could take photographs, And of course, over time, that sort of idea has somewhat mellowed a little bit. But I've always kind of stuck true to those roots of like, I want to create something that's a bit different from everybody else and stands out and things of that nature. Keep hammering on this point that everybody is an artist and you should be alive to that idea, that you should, cherish it and bring it out. But not everybody is. Not everybody wants to create art. Again, with that capital A. Or maybe I should sit up straight when I say, no, everybody wants to create art. Some people just want to take a photograph that they're proud of. It's that simple. In fact, it's so glaringly simple and obvious that I actually feel kind of ashamed. I'm sorry that I've overlooked it. That I've been so blinkered to my own sort of vision of what photography should be. And in fact, even as I'm doing this, I'm just looking at a mantelpiece full of pictures of my little boy that are not art. They're just pictures that we like of the child, right? And maybe that's what some people want to take. Just those, but in maybe a little bit more of a polished sort of way. So it does feel like, in retrospect, that this is a huge oversight on my part, and I find it equally weird because I'm a big fan of Bob Ross. Dum dum dum. I've caused some stick in the past about being a fan of Bob Ross, but I find his approach. It's very relaxing. I like the photographs. I like the paintings that he creates. Now, those paintings are never really going to grace the walls of the National Gallery. They're not going to be held up in the great pantheon of art history. And I'm pretty sure that there are a lot of people out there in the world who consider themselves to be serious artists, again with a capital A, who would look at his work and go, oh, it's naive pandering to the masses and it doesn't really mean anything, right? But there are, the proof is in the pudding, as they say. There are hundreds and thousands, millions of people who enjoy looking at his work. who not only enjoy looking at his work, but have wanted to recreate it, who've taken all the courses, both from Bob and his legion of instructors, that taught people how to make a Bob Ross painting that people then put up on the wall and they felt proud about, because they had just made something that isn't art with a capital A, but it is artistic. So what has all this got to do with photography, right? This is just like a Bob Ross loving thing. Now, I have only really kind of dabbled in landscape photography. It wasn't my thing when I was younger. It hasn't really been my thing when I've gotten older. So that idea, that scene of the walnut tree with the squirrels and this bucolic sort of looking scene in front of me, just kind of it never really kind of connected to me, except when it does, because I'm a man of contradictions, as you may have guessed occasionally, but sometimes this kind of colours the view of landscape photography. And I know landscape photography is exceptionally popular, both out in the kind of the wider world, but also here on YouTube. And so that's kind of where I'm sort of maybe thinking about this, is going, I look at landscape photography that most people do, and it's like, you need to do it sort of better, and it needs to be more sort of art and stuff like that. Whereas a lot of people just want to do and I'm going to use a phrase here, I can't think of any other way to sort of phrase it, but the Bob Ross of landscape photography, that they want to see just a scene that they like and photograph it. It's almost like I'm encouraging them, or the viewer, to create some sort of Dali-esque landscape when all they want to do is just make this Bob Ross painting. Simplicity in photography extends to also the way we look at photographs. And Frames magazine, Tomasz, who's very good at running this thing, and Scott as well, they have put together an app, because as much as I love the magazine, you can't always carry it with you. And this whole week we are, I'm helping to spread the word of this app, that thing for Frames. And of course, if you're wanting a little bit of a dose of kind of auditory sort of inspiration about photography, then they also have videos on there that you can access. I so would love it if you were able to support Tomasz and the Frames team on promoting this, because they do an awful lot of good for photography. If you're part of a photography club, or if you use Frames yourself, let us know in the comments. I see Frames turn up every now and again on little bookmarks when people are sharing their screens with me, so that's an encouraging thing. But yeah, that app is there. I've got it. I'm actually on there, so I'm going to pop some of my pictures on there. So if you want to pop by and poke fingers, poke holes in my pictures and go, oh, you're being too arty there again, Alex, then by all means, please do so. So the link's in the description. Go check them out. I would mean a heap to myself and to Tomasz and the Frames team. Near where I live, there is a little village called East Bergholt. And you may not be familiar with it, but it is the birthplace of a legendary British landscape painter called John Constable. And it says here on Wikipedia that Constable's usual subjects, scenes of an ordinary daily life, were unfashionable in an age that looked for more romantic visions of wild landscapes and ruins. And there's that word there, unfashionable. Today, landscape photography is all like, I think there are fashionable ways of taking landscape photographs, and then there are unfashionable ways. And when I look at Constable's paintings, if I imagine them as photographs, they would probably feel deeply unfashionable in today's modern landscape photography, right? The scenes, they are not spectacular. They don't have God rays coming out the yin yang. They're not far-flung places, and they are scenes of the area around him, what's now called Constable Country, and he just paints them in this kind of unassuming, sort of pretty, and that's probably the way. They're just pretty paintings. Now, don't misconstrue me here. He is a supremely talented painter. And these paintings are, they are properly good, You know, oh great, you know, Alex has said that John Constable is good, so he's had the seal of approval from Alex. No, okay, I think you get my point here, right? I'm not saying that they're rubbishy paintings. They're just simple, and they're nice. And I can't think of a better way to explain them, that, you know, that he would have been proud of them. As much as if you are a photographer who doesn't want to create these amazing things, but you just want to take a nice landscape that you are pleased of, or a nice portrait, then, you know, that should be, I'm sorry if I've given you the idea that somehow it's not good enough. It's something to aspire to. And I think there's a letter here from Constable, which I found, which kind of sums up, I think, what we're driving at here. It says, for the last 2 years, I have been running after pictures and seeking the truth at second hand. I have not endeavored to represent nature with the same elevation of mind with which I set out, but have rather tried to make my performances look like the work of other men. I think we should just let those words settle in for a moment. I would like you, from now on, if you feel that I'm getting too, like, you must be an artist, you must be creative, you must push it, and if you think, do you know what, that's a bit too much for me, that's a bit too much, I just want to make photographs that I like, that, you know, that are the truth. He says, look at that, we're going to throw the truth, right? The truth that you consider to be the truth. By all means, you know, work at your photography. If you want to be creative, do all those things. But please accept my apologies if I've painted a picture. See, we'll go back to the painting analogy again, right? That photography is all about really kind of pushing the boundaries, about being super creative. Sometimes simple is perfectly fine. And I use the word simple in a positive sense. You know, it's weird here, because I'm kind of thinking, I'm just like, I want to shake myself around and go, do you know what? It's okay, Alex. I'm kind of, and I want to sort of, I feel iffy about this, because I know, you know, that there are lots of people who watch the videos, who enjoy them, and be inspired by them. But I also wonder how many people have been, I don't want to say discouraged, but sort of gone, this is all like, oh, this is all up here, this is all arty sort of things and stuff. You know, maybe and I'm not suggesting for a second that I'm some sort of a major arty kind of person or what have you. But if that's the impression I've given off, I please, you know, sort of beg forgiveness, for want of a better word. You know, just, it's there. I wanted to get it off my chest and just say, you know, like, I love photography. I love being here. I love inspiring you and the person next to you and the person over there and all that kind of stuff. And I may have drifted into the world of opinions being like everybody's bottom holes. Something like that, you know, and I'm sorry if I go off that impression. But, you know, this is what happens when you go to art school as a 20-something-year-old and you think that you are so clever. If you want to see all the mistakes that I made at photo school because I was just so arrogant about things, but I can look back on it and point fingers at myself now. Check out this video over here. Thank you ever so much for watching, and I will see you again soon.